Okay, so I'm in compound martial arts today with Aleksander Yankov. He also trains out at DCA. So we're just going to go into your story. You're a 1 and 2 pro at the minute. So do you want to take us through your career? How long ago did you come to Ireland, and what brought you then into MMA?
Yeah, so I moved to Ireland when I was only 14, and I'm going to be turning 28 this year, so almost 14 years now. And first, I had no intentions whatsoever with any martial arts. I've always liked sports, but I never got that aspect of martial arts. And when I was 16, 17, people from school started like showing with their phones and like, oh, look at these highlights of. It was loads of Pride highlights like Mirko Cro Cop, Vanderlei Silva, Fedor Emelianenko, and it was something mad about it, and everyone was like, oh, this is deadly. So I was like, yeah, it is. Yeah, I would like to do that. And shortly after, a youth club where I went to school in the city center opened up, and they did martial arts once a week. So I was like, grand, I'll go. And I was really skinny and really like light compared to everyone else. I feel like I aged later than many of them, and I'm just able to pick the technique really well. So it kind of gave me like confidence boost, Wow, like I can do that well, and I can do the technique, and I'm beating people that are like significantly stronger than me and bigger. They look like men, and I look like a boy compared to that. And then after that, I graduated school. I did my Living Cert, and I went back to Bulgaria for 3 months. I always used to do that, like go back to summertime in there. So I was captivated. I was like, I need to do something with martial arts. My friend in Bulgaria was doing judo at the time in a school, and judo and sambo is massive in Bulgaria. Most of the schools have that kind of programs for judo and sambo, and it's regarded highly. So I went there, but I didn't know that in summertime, all the competitors my age, they just go on vacation. They might go on a camp on the beach side and train there, or they just take the 2 months off, and then they start training again. So I was literally training with kids, and it was one grandpa and one granny, and I was just learning that. So I couldn't really do anything physical. It was mostly technique. I was keeping the ball going. Still had a lot of interest about MMA. And when I came here and I got accepted into DCU, I checked on their sports page that they actually have an MMA society here, and I was like captivated. I was a bit shook. I was like, oh my God, college is doing that. It's progressive, I'll tell you a story later on that is not so progressive about that. And that was the first time I met Oshin McCabe. He was at the stand, and he was like, yeah, come join and go from there. So I joined with my friend I knew from college. And ever since, I just started training, and I was lucky enough to be like, right, that's what I want to do. And ever since that, I've been training there. 3 weeks after my training in there, I joined the Irish Open, no-gi, and I got bronze with true sheer madness. Basically, I had very little technique. It was just I had drive, and I was like, I'll take this down. I would, stay there. It was the worst performances of your life, but I still got a bronze medal in the Irish Open. And I didn't know it at the time. Only now I come back. For me, it was like, oh my God, I lost, And then I looked at it, I was like, wait a second. After 3 weeks of training, I was in a white belt division in no-gi, and I won. I won 3rd place. So relax, you're doing well. And I was really captivated with jiu-jitsu part of things, and used to compete religiously every weekend. With college, that was really easy to do as well, because there's nothing to do on the weekend. So you'd be like, oh, there you go. I can go there. I can move around the country and train and do these competitions. So I racked up a lot of experience in the grappling scene, and I actually I think I fought my first 3 or 4 fights with never doing any striking before the fights or in the fights. It was just all smoking mirror and pretending I'm dangerous, but I had no idea what I was doing.
Oh, cool. You actually said there about Oshin. Was Oshin going to the colleges to look for people to come train?
No, he was part of DCU. So he actually studied in DCU, And at the time when he was studying, it was only a kickboxing. It was a kickboxing society, and it was a grappling society. So he used to go to both of them, and he was like, "Well, wait, guys, there's like MMA going on, like where everything is mixed." And at that time, the sport had big stigma to its name. So it wasn't. I think it was. They couldn't even phrase it as mixed martial arts. They had to phrase it as kickboxing and grappling. So they merged the two things together, and he was the founder of that. Of the MMA. I believe Andy Ryan was doing the classes there for grappling, and basically Oshin got humbled by a girl on his first day of grappling, and he's done obviously a lot of stand-up with his karate and kickboxing. So he was like, wow, like, where I can be if I start training that. And ever since then, he used to coach in DCU. And at some stage, we were able to make our own club, and we're not representing DCU as well anymore. But that was our first beginnings.
Yeah, that's good the way that you came through there, and that's where Oshin came through, and obviously now you're here.
Yeah.
Lead us into how, when you started doing it, did you want to compete MMA? I know you said that you'd done the competitions for jiu-jitsu because you liked it. Were you planning on competing in MMA? Was that always the plan?
Absolutely, yeah. That was the plan. It was just jiu-jitsu was something that basically I couldn't get a fight earlier than that because Oshin was afraid for my health. I was very delusional. I was like, I want to keep fighting. I want to do that. And he was like, you need to take your time. You need to take at least a year and a half, something like that. Get comfortable. But I think I annoyed him enough. So after 8 months, he gave me my first MMA fight. I've heard from people that used to train before. He was a bit like, I'm not sure, but I think I proved him that I was more than ready. Maybe not with technique, but with my mindset.
With your mind. So talk us through that. Like, you've done the JIS competitions, but when actually walking out to a cage, getting in the cage, tell us what the feeling was like the week leading up to it, the day of, and then walking into the cage and getting locked in there. What did that feel like for the first time?
So weird because I didn't know how to feel. So that was a good thing in some ways, like I didn't know what to expect. I just kept repeating to myself. I remember going into the cage, leading up to the fight, I'm putting myself in there. So you should not have any fear, or you should not have any doubt. You're putting yourself there. Whatever happens, happens. But you put yourself there, so don't shy away from it. And it worked wonders, honestly. Like I still use that mantra to this day, and it's one of, like, I was actually impressed now looking back to it, that I was thinking like that. There have been times in my career later on that I have more doubts than the first young pup Alex, where he had that good intent and had that, you're putting yourself in there. Whatever happens, happens. Just present yourself to the best of the ability and see how it goes.
Yeah, no. So you were saying there actually, later on in your career, the doubt comes in. Would that be after you take a loss or something then when you're walking in?
It wouldn't be. Sometimes it wouldn't be one, even. Sometimes you get a win, but you get, hurt, and you start to realize how vulnerable you are in there, and you're the most vulnerable you could possibly be in there, because it's not like you're fighting some guy off the street you're fighting someone that committed maybe 10 years of their life. I don't see like 2 months. It's 10 years, realistically, he's committed to like kicking the bag and doing all the runs just to come back into that cage and fight you. So the doubts come from like, like, am I mad for doing this? Am I mad, like, actually for going all through this? But I keep coming back, so I must be mad.
Yeah, so you must be mad. You actually, during your amateur career as well, you actually got an injury that you ended up fighting through. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was training at the gym, and it was always, for whoever is young and listening to this, if the rounds are finished and you go like, and in your mind you're already cooling down, and you go like, oh, and someone goes, oh, let's go another round. Sometimes it's good, but majority of the time, most of the injuries, and I talk to experienced people, majority of the injuries happen then, because like you're not as concentrated, your body's cooled down, and I got taken down, and a very regular post, which will be usually on the post and on this. You know, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm being taken down. I'm gonna post up on the head, and I'm gonna make sure, you know, I have a post ready to bounce off. So yeah, I got that post, but obviously miscalculated the sheer strength someone is trying to take me down with, which was another thing as well. It's like, this guy's not training anymore, but he gave me this permanent injury that like, that like I have to live with it and I have to fight through it, which I will. But again, it just puts you into perspective. Yeah, I just felt straight away something pop here, and I just saw my bone sticking out. It wasn't through the flesh, but just I had a tight rash guard, so it was really sticking out here. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't feel right. Went to A&E, checked it. Probably should have went to a sports doctor, because I went to A&E and they were like, oh, you can move it like this. Oh, you're good. I never told them, I'm looking for a sport career here. So only like maybe 3 months after that, I went back to Bulgaria, and my parents were like, let's go to that show. We have a sports, we have a doctor that we know, and he's a specialist. And he went and he said, like, realistically, you should have come straight away and we could have done the operation. Now you just have to live with it, and you can strengthen it. It would never be 100%, but we can't really do anything because your body has already adjusted itself. So it will be too much shock for the system to actually go through that operation now. So he just said, like, write it out. And maybe later on in your career, you'll need to replace it when basically the bone will have so much friction that they stick together, So yeah, ouch.
Yeah, ouch is right. Yeah, because obviously after the body tries to heal itself, and that's obviously what happens to you, and you can undo it, but like I said, it'd be too much shock. But you were actually going into fights as well with that as well.
Yeah.
So how you were switching stances, you were saying?
Yeah, I had a fight with Kieran Clark in, I believe, Cage Legacy 3 or 2 lined up, and then this happened. But I had that fight lined up for some reason. It was very long. It wasn't. I don't believe it was 2 months in advance. It was longer than that, or maybe my memory is bad, because that happened. The injury happened. I started kind of, maybe gave it 2 weeks to rest, and then started strengthening it, started lifting a bit of weights to make sure it's getting comfortable, and it's not too weak. And I didn't do any grappling for that fight, and then I was like, right, so I cannot, obviously lost that fight with Kieran Clark. Now I believe 3-0 or 4-0 in Bellator.
I think he's 5-0
now. Okay, Jesus. So yeah, and he's finishing lads in a very, very serious manner with elbows and ground and pound from top. So he's another good fighter that I knew I was injured, and I knew, like, probabilities are, even probably if I wasn't injured, it would have been really, really hard fight. I just wanted to get in there and experience someone with that kind of accolades, and then obviously him doing really well in pro, it's really good, and it's inspiration, it gives you a path of what you can do, I just said to myself, so right, I can't do any grappling. Let's go into kickboxing. Anyway, it's lacking. I'm really bad at that. So let's do some stand-up fights, because at least with the grappling, I couldn't put under hooks. I couldn't do anything. That's when it was actually most fatigued. But with striking, where I can jab, or I can cross with that hand, it didn't seem to get as tired, and I can keep it up and go from there. I think it was the tiredness comes from prolonged tension. It doesn't happen from in and out 1-2 movements. But I was southpaw, and I couldn't do that in a southpaw because my shoulder was kind of getting really low. Even if I wanted here, in my head, the hand is up, but it's actually here. And my coach keeps saying, like, hands up. I'm like, they're as up as I can possibly have them. So I had to switch to orthodox, because then my shoulder is in front, so it can kind of protect me better. And I just went on a 2-year kind of adventure in the kickboxing K1 scenes. And I believe did like 8 fights, and at the end of it got a national ISK belt from it as well. So after that, I was like, right, that was a good story. That was a good chapter. Let's get back to putting that into the MMA arsenal, and improving basically my grappling and my wrestling to fit it with my striking.
That's good that you actually went that route and done the kickboxing to bring in with your grappling that you obviously hear compound. I want to ask you, DCA, when did you join DCA, or were they always a part of your training?
I joined them before COVID hit. It was for a while. I was still an amateur, and I just joined them. And I used to do a lot of their Friday sparring sessions, because therefore all gyms are invited, free of cost, and you can go in there and have rounds with like high-level professional Muay Thai fighters. So you can really see what they would really show you what you need to work on. So I was doing that for a while, and I really liked it. It was great, great. And then obviously COVID hit. At the time, I knew they were doing some secret training, but it wasn't in that gym. It was in a different place, and that was too hectic for me, too hard for me to train out there. I got a kid at that same time, so I couldn't really do it as well. COVID came up. No one knew exactly, like, oh, is this actually for real? Obviously, now we realize it wasn't as badly as everyone said it was, but you don't know that until it actually some time passes. After everything was lifted and they went back to the gym in Fisborough, I was able to return there and been there ever since, and be there for a long time as well.
Yeah, no, Collie Mattin's really good. And then obviously Oisin, did Oisin push you to go?
Yeah, Oisin, I think, is an OG in that sense, because he's always thought about that. He's always telling me, like, go there, go train there. He doesn't have any issues with me going to train in other places if he thinks that that is going to be the best thing for me. He doesn't have that sense of like, we need to just keep you here. I think that's where you cut off the wings of your fighter. And they're the best maybe in the room, but like, you're just the best in a room. You're not the best in where you could possibly, you know what I mean? You're not going to elevate your skills. And obviously, this being an MMA gym and doing kickboxing, MMA, grappling, and wrestling, he realized like, if he divides his time in all these three things, it's not going to be the same as, for example, Collie, that divides his time only into striking. So he's okay with that. He was the one to be like, you need to go there. You need to train there if you want to have good striking. So I took his advice, and it's working well. Collie was in my corner for my last fight and the fight before that, and they seem to work really well together. There's no hiccups. Collie's taking the striking side of things. Then after that, Oisin takes the cage side things and grappling on the ground. So yeah, it's working really well so far.
Yeah, no, it's good. I actually like that, because a lot of times gyms will be like, no, like, you're just this gym. Like, you see that throughout the years, loyalty to a gym.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're disloyal. It's like you said, Oisin wants to see the best for you. So
exactly.
He's going to specialize your grappling here, and Collie's going to specialize your striking. And like, what a person to learn that for striking as well. Collie, you see the amount of MMA fighters that he actually has on board, and he's a Muay Thai gym, not an MMA gym. So what's it like having the two of them in your corner? Like,
it's very good. Funny enough, a lot of people say that Collie is very, up there and frantic, and then Oisin is very reserved. But I see them both have similarities, because they're very reserved when they have to be. But if someone is, if they have to speak out, they will speak out. And I think that's where, Oisin maybe shows up and is more relaxed, but he's not. I've seen him, if he would call out someone if he has to be. And same with Collie, he's very relaxed and he's very caring. But then if someone says something that he doesn't agree with, or something that's out of line, he'll speak out. So I see them, they have very, very big similarities, even though they're portrayed in two different ways from the community. They have both these things, like, you can't just be like this guy that's super passive, or you can't be this guy that just like goes mayhem all the time, But yeah, they have both things, and they work really well together. They have, Oisin has a lot of knowledge on the striking part of things as well. So it's just Collie is fine-tuning that little details that, that he can, have that in his arsenal, and then vice versa. Oisin is really good with the cage control, systems and the grappling. He time and time again, he does very, very well. For a small gym that's open for 2 years, our juniors are getting really good spots, third, second places as a whole in big tournaments, you know, competing with gyms that have been there for years. Exactly. So it's good to see, you know. It's both motivating from both gyms, you know. The grappling side in here, there is a kickboxing like group that does a lot of kickboxing as well. But again, you know, the reality is, you know, they're doing it for 3-4 years. While I'm not sure for how long Collie and Craig have been together, or Stefan or Aaron Brown. These are renowned names, like really, really strong names on the scene in Ireland and worldwide as well. So they, you know, I mean, the experience you can get from them is much different. You know, they can expose you, as I said before, and they can really show you, like, you don't have to give them 2 chances. You know what I mean? They're gonna take the first one. So that's really good to see, because it kind of just elevates you. You need to, like, they're not gonna stop running for you. So you need to catch up to them, and that's where the whole growth and how Oshin told me you need to go there if you want to improve your striking worked.
Yeah, no, it is good. I like that Oshin done that, and that you are training both, because you've got 2 great coaches then in your corner going into fights. I want to go on to then your first pro fight.
Yeah.
So we talked about what it was like for amateur. So when you made your first pro fight, it was on Clan Wars, I believe, versus Ryan Shelley.
Ryan Shelley, yeah.
So when you were going into that fight, how were the nerves? How was everything different to your debut?
It was horrible. I basically didn't. I wish I took my advice more at the beginning of my amateur career. It just made me, now looking back at it, it felt like maybe because I knew too much. It's like I just put too much stress on myself, and physically I'm no shadow of the lie, I was in a very, very good condition, you know. I trained so much for that fight physically, and I felt like, oh, because I'm gonna take this physical, I take that physical box so much, you know, that's it, it's wrapped up. And then obviously the fight, I think, got rescheduled 2 or 3 times. It was through COVID times. That kind of, you know, all of a sudden a 2-month camp became a 3 or 4-month camp, you know, with like ups and downs and whatnot. And oh my God, this is actually better that this fight is happening on this time. And then, oh my God, this is actually worse that it's happening now, because things happen out. Things were happening outside my life at the time. So it was, in my opinion, it was obviously good that I got through it, but it was very, very bad. It was by far probably my worst experience and performance. And yeah, it was just mentally bad to see yourself getting there, going through all the hard work, going there with the game opponent and not giving him the game. You know what I mean? Like he was there to fight and I wasn't, and it was a bit poor from my part.
Yeah, but obviously you learn from that and you go on, but especially with the likes of the COVID, the back and forth, it was very uncertain times as well. So.
Yeah, I'm not gonna excuse myself, you know, that was all in my control. You know what I mean? I feel like if I had a better frame of mind, I could have dealt with that, no issues like that. That shouldn't be an issue. Issues arise all the time in life. You just have to you have to know how to react to them. And I did not react in a positive manner, and I paid the price, you know. I don't know how the fight would have turned out if I showed up and I was game as Ryan, but at least I would have been proud about myself going in there and doing my best, not, you know, just going in there for the, I don't know, for not even experience, but just to be there for the sake of it, just to make your pro debut, you know. I didn't pick I believe I was on Prospect MMA. I was the one that called out Ryan, because I knew Ryan has trained since a young age, and I knew he's going to be a really, really hard test for me for my first fight. And I'm all about that. I'm not excited about getting someone and being like, oh, fight this guy, you know, and there's a list of people that have beaten him, you know. That's not really interesting to me. Maybe that's a bad approach, I don't know, but to me that's the true approach. I want to test myself with people that are battle tested and that are coming to fight, because if I can beat them, I can honestly say, wow, you did this, you know what I mean? And I can honestly see how I I wouldn't say motivation, but how my
Skill.
improves. But if I go there and like he's been beaten by half the country, and I go there and
You don't learn anything.
no, not at all. And or I pad my record at amateur, and then I'll be like, oh my God, I have 6 in a row. You have 6 in a row with people that's trained for 2 years. Like, what are you doing in that cage? In that, you know?
Yeah, you're only fooling yourself then, going into pro and then padding your record. You came back though, and you were on Clan Wars again for your second fight, and you won. Run us through that fight a little bit.
Yeah, that was, you know, I just wanted to make a statement that, you know, I mean, what happened the first fight was just a once off, and everyone can have that kind of night. You know, things just didn't sit like fire the way they should, and you know, it didn't go well whatsoever. But then the second fight, I said, right, I'm not gonna like shy away from it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, what if this happens again? It won't happen because I'm in control. The only good thing out of that fight that happened was like, right, like you were in control and you didn't put yourself, you know, you didn't put yourself in the best scenario to win that fight. So let's take a step back, put yourself in that mind frame. So that I took a year off. Really after that performance, I was close to, I wasn't gonna quit, but it felt like, what am I doing? You know, maybe I'm over my head with this. But then I had a chat with myself, and then actually months after, I had with a really close friend, I had a chat as well. The first chat I had with myself is like, right, if I stop now, that's going to be a reoccurring theme in my life. Things will go hard, and I'll something will go wrong, and I'll shy away from it, and then I'll have to. I'm going to have to find something new to do, you know, something that I have true passion for. Again, I'm not sticking around just because I've done it long enough. I have true passion for fighting. I love fighting. I love going through the whole process. I love being nervous before the fights. I love going into the cage and, you know, looking my opponent into the face, and then after that scrapping at the end of it. You know, that's very exciting for me, and that's, you know, I knew from the beginning I wanted to do that, and it still hasn't changed. So yeah, I forgot where where I was going with this.
Yeah, no, we were talking about, obviously your second fight, you came back and you won it, and you won it quite well. So you obviously redeemed, you changed your mindset, which is good. And it's good to see that you're very honest about that. You said you were thinking of maybe am I in over head, because at the end of the day, you're a person like all of us. Like, you're still a human being, although you do stuff that like a lot of people don't do. But the thoughts that like those thoughts go through fighters' head.
They're the same. Yeah.
But I like your approach, saying that whatever I do in life or whatever you do in life, there's going to be obstacles in our way, and you just have to try and overcome them. So obviously you overcame that one. You won that in an emphatic fashion, and then you fought Martin quite recently as well, where the first round was your way, and then you went into the second round, and then obviously, how do you summarize that fight? How do you feel after that fight?
Basically, it was sweet and sour. Sweet and sour. Obviously, we took that fight on, I believe, 3 weeks' notice, or 3.5, something like that. But I was still in a good shape because of my last fight. I still kept training because I didn't have any injuries. I just felt like my elbow's in bit. For some reason, every time after I elbow with my left one, it just balloons.
It's a balloon.
My elbow is a balloon. yeah. But it's like, I don't know why the right one doesn't have that, but my left one always balloons up. So I just had to I just couldn't punch that much because I couldn't rotate it fully, and I couldn't elbow with it, but I could do anything else. I had my left knee, I had my right knee, I had my left kick, right side. So I kept training anyhow, and then that fight arose. Obviously, it was at 70. That's not my natural weight, and you know, I mean, I would maybe only for short replacements and stuff like that look to fight at that weight. But realistically, I'm a very, very small 70 kg. You know what I mean? There's people that professionally cut it. Maybe they will be 86 kg at that stage, you know, before they cut. And that's it's just it's not my weight. It's just the fact is, you know, felt like Martin was beatable opponent. We still do anyway, even though he had the win over me 2 weeks ago. But I went in there and I said, like, it's gonna be again. We're going to Northern Ireland. It's gonna be his city. He's gonna be his supporters. just straight away had that mindset that I'm gonna go in there and beat him in his own town. And the first round went really well. Second round went really well, and then in the third, in 1 minute after the third round has run, that's where he got me. I just, in all fairness, now looking in retrospect, again, I'm gonna blame myself because that's the only thing. The coach advice was, don't engage in grappling with him. The only way he's gonna beat you is with a good submission. With a submission, he's gonna try to engage your grappling, but again, the first 2 rounds have shown us that he can't take you down, and he's just taking cumulative damage. You know, at some stage, I felt like the elbows were connecting very, very well, and he was trying to hide his head between my legs, which basically guarantee he won't take me down. Like there's very little leverage when your neck is curled up, like he won't be able to take a human being down like that, you know? So he was accepting staying in there and taking shots. So it was on me basically to keep it standing. And I just saw his legs being really close, and I think my instinct kicked like, oh, there's a takedown. But again, that was just like almost like a fly in a spider web, since like I'm going there with someone that like he has a lot of submission wins, and he does like that looked like the only way he could have a win over me. So yeah, it was the sweet part was the 2 rounds before that, and what I was doing to a guy that was heavier than me, you know. And then the bad part, you know, obviously the sour part is the fact that I made that decision and I paid the price for it.
Yeah, it just shows that just a single lapse, it's just like, it's a game of inches, really.
It really is, yeah.
Like a simple lapse like that, you think, right, I've got the takedown here, then all of a sudden.
Exactly, but that's another thing, you said it right. That was my mistake. My mistake was I connected my hand. Actually, I don't believe I even connected my hands, but I had them wrapped up. I had my head on the right side, and I said, right, I had that takedown. When you start thinking you have something, it's when you're not gonna have it. So looking at the fight back, and from what I can recall, that was my mistake. I didn't drive enough to have my head under his armpit at that stage, you know what I mean? So my head stayed low on his hips at all times. And again, props to him, he was feeding it that way. But again, if you're moving backwards and you're feeding that head downwards, if someone truly drives forward, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, so it was my thing, I got that takedown, and then the head getting wrapped up, and he has massive legs. And that's one thing, once he wrapped the legs around me in the close guard, and he had like 3, I can remember it clearly, it was 3 adjustments. I was like, on the first one, it's like, it's not there. Second one, it's not there, and I'm still controlling it. On the third one, his adjustment was so well that like, usually, you know, I was on his right-hand side or left side of me, and I had my left hand, and I would usually bring my left leg close to my hand and start driving, basically. A lot of people think, you know, you need to have actually a bigger neck and bigger shoulders. You have to make them as big as possible, and that's how you're gonna escape, because then his hand is not truly wrapped around it. I just couldn't do that because his legs were so in the way, and his 3 adjustments that I was saying, that every time I'm trying to drive with that left leg to create that wasn't happening, and at some stage I had no air, so I had to tap out.
And then it was over, unfortunately, because obviously team tours are quite well known for the BJJ and
so again, that was like a very, very big upset from me, for the fact that I had the coaches, they told me exactly what I had to do, and it was the right thing to do. On the feet, he had good low kicks going his way, but apart from that, I believe he was very tentative. And again, I was treating it with respect because he was throwing loads of bombs, but you know what I mean, I felt like for the duration of the fight, I was controlling that standing, and I was being a bit more patient and more relaxed. Obviously, majority of my damage came from the clinch, but that was his decision because he was trying to drive through me. Otherwise than that, I would just try to stay in the middle and try to bang it out. But when he goes for a takedown, I have to defend it, and obviously tax him with some elbows and some knees. Look to reverse. At some stage in the first round, I connected well with a knee to the head. I felt that was good. I felt good for the fact that I didn't blow myself out to try to finish him. I felt that was I take that as a good thing rather than, gassing myself out in the first and then let's see, because I came out knowing he's 70 kg, he's fought 70 kg for long periods of time. Like, I'm not going to be able to shut down his lights just like that, and I just need accumulative damage rather than anything else, and just short bursts and continuous bursts and to see victory like that. And I would have, I believe, if I didn't go for that takedown, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it can't be changed now.
Yeah.
But you've also got a fight booked coming up, a cage conflict. Scott Harvey's your opponent.
Scott Harvey, yeah.
How are you feeling about this? Have you changed anything with your camp, or is it more the same? Have you looked into him much? Do you study your opponents much? Have you studied him much coming up to this?
Actually, before that, I vaguely maybe studied my opponents, but this time I'm going to try to really do it. Just take any advantage I can possibly have. So over the time when the fight got announced and now basically I've done some film study on him, on what he likes to do, how he likes to set up his shots, because he's grappling predominantly. I believe he's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he looks to take you down and smother you. So yeah, I'm very excited because he's another really, really good test. And again, this is people. So my first fight, obviously, it was Ryan Shelley's first fight. But he's been doing taekwondo since such a young age, and he's been on the competitive scene. He's had levels above me in competition side of things. Then Dylan Douglas, he was a pro before me for a long time, and then Martin Zambala, that I think had 8 fights, 8 pro fights before me, and now obviously Scott Harvey, he had 1 fight, but he's had some serious names that he has beat on the amateur scene in Northern Ireland and in here. And just very, very excited to test myself against someone that's as strong as a martial artist as he is.
Yeah, it's a good venue as well. Cage Conflict do a good show. So how are you feeling about going and fighting in that venue? Have you seen what the atmosphere is like? I've seen from videos. I've
seen the show they made during the COVID times. That was outdoors, and that was like, oh my God, this is legendary. It was, I believe, on a place for concert. I was like, how did I not, at the time I wasn't in a good mind space, so that's why I was working really hard for 1 year to keep training, keep the physical things going, but really work on myself and my mental side of preparation about fighting. And then I had I believe one of the guys from here from Compound Martial Arts. They fought on their next show, and Ocean was like, we need to get you in there. Like, the atmosphere, the promotion is so professional. The management are very, very sound and very, very accommodating towards the fighter. So he was like, well, we need to get you in there, and here we go.
Here we go. I can't wait to see you fight. I know you're only going to look at Scott, but are you planning on getting another fight in before the end of the year?
Yeah. I'm trying to have 1 or 2 now. So far, I've been very lucky with the fights. Obviously, I had 2 this year that I haven't been too banged up from them, or I haven't been too injured, so I could go back straight to training and kind of wrap up and have, after 2-3 months, I can have another one and go from there. So far, I will look later in the year though, but at first, right now, it's all about Scott Harvey and thinking about that fight, because it's a true test. He's going to come and he's going to try to implement his game on me, and I believe he's going to try to grapple with me quite hard. It's going to be a glorified grappling match, and working with Oshin on the systems with not being taken down, and also working in the clinch with Collie. I feel it's going to be an issue where Scott now will have to realize, right, game 1 doesn't work. So I'm very excited to see his game 2, game 3, because the narrative of his fighting has been so far, he strikes, he looks to land the 1-2, he looks to go to the body, switches up, so he lullabies you in that idea that I'm going to the body, and then he shoots. So when you shoot, and if the guy stands up straight away or he reverses you, where does that leave you? I'm very excited. Maybe we're going to see a new side of him we haven't seen before. But I'm ready to test that. And as I said, I'm very excited for that fight because, again, it's with someone that has a renowned game. And I can test my skills against that.
Yeah, no, I like what you said there, that you want to see his part two, because usually when you've got grapplers like that, you never see their part two and they never get to show it. So he might be also excited if he can't take you down to say, right, okay, let's see can I strike with this guy.
Exactly, absolutely. And
which makes it more interesting.
That is the interesting part. In the end of the day, I can say, like, I know I'm going to beat him. He can say, I know. No one knows that. On that day, I'm going to show up and I'm going to see who's going to beat who, you know. I have confidence in my skills. I'm in a very good space now mentally where, like, I feel really, really relaxed in the cage, whatever happens. So for whatever it's worth, you know, I'm going to tax you for your health and go from there.
Perfect. Is there anything you want to say before I let you go? I've really enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for taking that time and making sure, you know, young pros and amateurs are getting that exposure. I believe it's very good for us, and, you know, you're doing a good thing with yourself. And yeah, I just want to say thanks to all the people that I train with from Compound Martial Arts and from DCA, because they're pushing me on the daily basis at being my best side, best martial artist as I can possibly be. To Collier and to Oshin, thank you as well. You're very understanding coaches. You're very great coaches in your own sense, you know. Yeah, that's it. Well, I think we can wrap it up.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.